All right, everybody, this is Sean with Carpet Cleaner Training, and today we're going to show you a severe pet contamination and how are we going to deal with something like that. So, first of all, when you're dealing with something severe, we need to remove the source of the odor. So, first thing you have to do is expose the pad. Simply, most of the times, it's just a matter of pulling this back. So, and then on the back, we can kind of see exactly where the spots that we're mostly concerned about are. So they'll be more visible. You can kind of see on that back of that pad, there's a big one there, all the way to the wall, and then a whole bunch more in that corner. And what we're going to do is we're going to treat it, and they also a few more on that other side, but they weren't as light, as dark, so they weren't as visible. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this whole section of pad out. So I'm going to treat basically a quarter of this room. So you just take your utility knife and you simply cut through all the way through the pad and pull it back, and we're just going to throw that pad away. Because what happens is when this was a cat, so cat is the worst as well. So you want to get rid of the source of the odor. A lot of that source is in the pad, but we also have some in the tack strip and other things as well. So we're going to treat those. First, kind of get all that. There's dirt and buildup in the crevices by the edge of the wall between the tack strip and the wall. So we want to get all that out first, and we're just trying to get it as clean as we can. So when we treat this, we can give them a final result that is guaranteeable. This is the only method that I would guarantee odor removal in. I wouldn't ever say, hey, we'll get rid of this odor and you're just going to do some sort of topical clean on it. It's just not going to be sufficient enough to warrant a guarantee to say, yeah, I guarantee this odor is going to be gone, because the likelihood is it's not going to be gone because you're not removing the source of the odor. The odor is coming from deeper down in the surface. So if you're just treating the top, don't ever say, yeah, no problem, we can get rid of that odor for you, because you can't from the top. You have to do this type of treatment in order to guarantee a removal. All right, so next we're actually going to seal the concrete and the tack strip. What I'm using here is a Kills primer. It's a stain and odor blocking primer. There are other things. Pro's Choice makes a product it's a clear product, and that's all it's for, is sealing. So it seals really well, and I do like their product, but I did not have any on me, and I didn't have time to order some in. Nobody had it locally, so I went ahead and opted to go with the Kills primer. And first thing I'm going to do is treat the tack strip. Tack strip is just wood, so it's going to soak up any of that odor. Any of that urine is going to be stuck in that. Now you could replace it, but most of the time, if it's in good shape, just paint it, and it's not a problem. So then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually paint the whole floor, the concrete. So concrete is basically a big sponge. So if that urine gets to the point where it's making contact with the concrete will literally suck it into itself, and you can remove the pad. But if you don't treat to seal the odor into the concrete, you're going to have chance of odor coming out. Now, is it a good chance that it's going to smell and that everybody? No. But I tell you what, there are certain people that if you can't smell it, they will smell it. So always seal the concrete as well, even if it's just the areas that were affected. I went ahead and sealed the whole thing here. Now, one mistake I made was I didn't have time to let this dry sufficiently. So it's a little bit tacky still, and we'll see what happens later with that. It does cause a little bit of an issue. Not that big a deal, but it's still an issue. So make sure you let it dry. Now, with the Pro's Choice product sealer that they use, they do recommend leaving the plastic in place after the job is done. I didn't want to do that here. It's an apartment she's renting, so I didn't want her to get in any kind of trouble for this happening. She just wanted to make sure that she was covered with her renters and make sure everybody was happy. I didn't want to leave the plastic in place, so I went ahead and pulled it afterwards. But there are products where you can leave the plastic in place. So all I did was lay it out, tape it up on the wall a little bit. Now, another thing you would probably want to do that I didn't do here is to cover the tack strip nails with some sort of cushion. You can use towels, you can use styrofoam, you can use pieces of the old pad. It really doesn't matter. If you cover the nails, it'll prevent any liquids from getting down through any little perforations that the nails would cause in that plastic sheeting. So you can do that. I didn't do it here. It doesn't usually cause too big of a problem if you don't do it. Just don't shove the carpet down onto those nails and you won't have too big of a deal. But it is a good idea to cover those nails just in case you get some liquid down up inside there. So now the cleaning starts. So the chemical we're using here is a chemical by Pro's Choice. It's by the name of OSR, stands for Odor and Stain Remover. This is, if you think of most treatments being a bomb or a gun or something like that, this is a nuclear strike of odor treatment. So this is going to take care of even the worst odors out there. So cats, severe dog, stuff like that, you're going to have some sort of major component. This is a heavy oxidizer. It's got all kinds of things in it to remove the odor from the carpet. So what you do with this product is you mix it extremely hot water, as hot as water you can find. So you can take water out of the tap, and just make sure when you get there, it's always a good idea, turn the water heater up all the way, get your water blistering hot. I take it out of the truck mount directly, get it really cooking out of the truck mount, and then mix it. So follow the directions on the bottle and just start dump it in the water and start stirring it up. And you can see right away that it starts oxidizing tremendously. The hotter the water, the faster it's going to oxidize. And it's just going to start producing oxygen like crazy. Just keep on stirring it and stirring it until you can kind of feel the grit on the bottom of the bucket. When that is fully dissolved, you're probably not going to get too much more out of it. So you want to just stir it until you don't feel any more of that grit on the bottom. If you do stop early, you'll end up with a little bit of grit on the carpet that didn't dissolve in the liquid. It takes a little while to get it to fully dissolve because you have to use quite a bit of it. So when you feel that you've got most of it all dissolved, you can stop stirring it, and then you just simply dump the bucket over. So you can see here we got 5 gallons of product here, and we dump it over. You can see how hot the water is. The steam is rising off of there. And you just get it all dumped out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take a brush or a carpet rake or anything that you have available to you, and we're going to distribute that out for this whole area. So just push it all the way down, get it to cover all that carpet, that whole area that we're treating. If you know where the spots are, you can keep big chunks of it into those particular areas, like we have one in this corner. So we want to make sure that that is completely saturated with this product. Now this product's going to sit. I usually let it sit for about a half hour before I do anything else to it. So I'm just going to distribute it out here, and then I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to wait for a half hour. Every now and then I might come back and brush it again just to kind of loosen things up. And what it's doing here is it's oxidizing the stain, it's oxidizing to remove odor. It's got a whole bunch of other products that are in this product to outright remove odor. It's going to take it out. It's going to neutralize the odors. It's going to remove the urine when we extract it. So again, just let it sit, half hour. You can brush it here and there. Now, next step, after that half hour is over, notice I don't have any water connected here. We're not rinsing this product. This product is designed to stay in the carpet and dry in the carpet. So it's not going to be causing a problem that it's still there. In fact, it's going to continue to work as long as it's wet. So it's going to continue to oxidize odors. It's going to continue to remove odor until it's thoroughly dry. So, and rest assured, this product is extremely effective when you do it this way. And yes, it's a long process, but keep in mind you are going to charge for this process. This isn't a cheap process. So, I mean, just a half hour alone just waiting for the product to work. So you're going to make sure that you charge accordingly for your time that you're going to be here. So now you'll see one of the problems that not letting that paint cure totally cause is when I pull this up, it's going to stick to that plastic a little bit. So we have some areas that aren't going to have a complete coating for the sealer. Not a big deal in this situation, but keep in mind that you want to let that product cure. Now, the Pro's Choice product, you don't actually let it cure. You put the plastic down, and the plastic is designed to stay there. Now, I didn't do that here because it was an apartment, and I didn't want to leave plastic underneath her floor for some point in the future for her manager to say what happened here. So we removed it and just treated it for odor, removed the plastic. But the plastic can stay in most instances, and you just leave it there underneath, and nobody's the wiser. Nobody's ever going to know it's there until they decide to replace their carpet and pad, and then at some point someone will say, oh, what's this? What happened here? And no one's really going to care at that point. So what we're doing here is we're going to put the new padding down, and that floor is still a little bit tacky, so what I put down there first was the pad glue, and what that does, it just helps the pad stay in place when you're stretching it in or kicking the padding or the carpet back in place, and it stops the that little piece of carpet from moving. So it's basically gluing that pad to the ground. So just get in here and just pull it to, just cut it to size, and then pull it to the edges as closely as you can, and then just make your final adjustments by just pulling it and making sure it's exactly where it needs to be. And then what we do is make sure your knife is completely sharp. It's got to be a brand new blade or it won't work for this. Now in this instance, my padding was just slightly thicker than the previous pad. I did not have a supplier that had the exact pad. So what I'm doing here is something that's a little bit different, is cutting it in a wave pattern, and that's going to kind of buffer that edge a little bit, so it's not going to be such a striking edge that it's showing that it's thicker than the last pad. So it's just going to soften that edge a little bit. So what I did was when I cut that, I cut through both layers of pad, and that's why you need the sharp knife. Otherwise it's just going to tear it up and you can't get a really clean cut. So when you want to join your two pads together, simply cut through both pieces of pad, and it'll make sure that line lines up completely perfect, and you don't have to eyeball it or try to trim your pad. It's never going to work right. Just cut through both pieces, and that way you have a nice clean edge that you can tape together and make sure that there's no gaps, there's no anything. It's completely flush against each layer of pad. All right, what we do next is we grab our pad tape. This is not duct tape, it is not masking tape, it is pad tape. Don't use those other things. Duct tape, yeah, will it stick? Will it work? Yeah, it'll work. Pad tape is specially designed. It's slick on the top, so it provides you with a nice smooth surface for the carpet as you're stretching it to slide over the top of it. That's what it's designed for, and that's what I would prefer that you guys use. In a pinch, sure, masking tape, duct tape, it's going to work, and you'll find that many people will use those things in the industry, and you'll find guys that have put duct tape underneath carpet, and that's what you find when you start pulling things up and you realize, oh yeah, somebody either did a hack job here and didn't have the tape that was proper to use, and so they used something else. So just tape it thoroughly. When you do the wave pattern, it takes a little bit more tape. If you just had a straight cut on there, really one piece of tape down the length of the seam is fine, and I usually put a few little cross pieces just to make sure that it's staying down and staying in place when you kick the carpet into place. So now all we need to do now is lay this carpet out. So we're going to just pick it up and lay it back into place, and then we're ready to get started re-stretching it and putting it back into place on the tack strip. So the tools that we're going to use for this is just the kicker. We don't want to power stretch this carpet. The carpet's wet, and when carpet is wet, it becomes weak. So we don't want to put a power stretch on this. You could literally damage the carpet by pulling it into two different pieces or stretching it beyond what it needs to. All we need to do is just kick this in place, get a few little kicks here, and then we're going to tack it into the edge behind that deal. We don't have to pound it. I have a mallet with me, but especially with this, it's an old install, so you're not having to trim it because you're not really power stretching a whole bunch of carpet out. All we're doing is setting it on those nails and then just shoving that excess carpet down into that little gully between the tack strip and the wall, and that's going to hold it. It's not going to go anywhere, and then you'll be in good shape. When she comes in, she'll just be totally happy with her nice, fresh, clean carpet that's reinstalled, and she'd never know that it was even had any odor in it. So that's the goal, to make her carpet just like it was new when she moved in, so she doesn't come into this room and just have a smell that is still bothering her. Again, we guarantee this job that she will not have any odor. So I've never had this product fail. I've never had to go back and the customer said, yeah, it still smells, need to do something about that. It doesn't happen with this product if you do it correctly. If the source is gone and you treat the rest of the odor with the OSR, you won't have a problem. I guarantee this type of work all the time when I do it, and never had a problem in probably 15 years of using the product. So as final steps, you may have some little pieces of fiber and stuff. You want to vacuum those up, make sure that you're not leaving anything behind, and then of course groom it. In this situation, I'm just using a pile brush, but you can use a groomer, anything will work. I just happen to have this pile brush in here from when I was working the product. So there's the finished product, and we're in good shape, and she's ready to move back into this room as soon as it's dry.